5. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being patient with us. I was taking a power nap and got here just in time. Once again, you'll note that we have the anonymous questions inside of the chat. That's pinned and ready to go. And without further ado, Therapeutic Thursday with John Quick. Hello, sir.
So I'm just getting Joshua to make a transfer to the Aortic Hope charity for being late, a late penalty. Good evening, everybody from Europe. More on that later. Good morning in some places in the United States. Good morning, good afternoon in some places in the United States, and wherever they are in the rest of the world, hello. So my name is John Quick, as some of you may now know. I'm also a therapeutic survivor in terms of having had an aortic aneurysm and an aortic dissection. I'm 18 years out, so I'm now an adult dissectioner. And as I've now explained many times, one of the life-changing things about this that we all experienced was it forced me down various different career paths, and I started retraining in psychology, which I'd always been very interested in, started doing courses, started doing volunteering, gained various qualifications. And that brings me here today with hopefully being able to offer viewpoints and advice from not just a psychotherapeutic point of view, but also from someone who is a fellow sufferer, if you like, living with the disease week in, week out. Things to say about that in a moment. I will do something a little bit different today and do a kind of relaxation exercise, which, to begin, which is a way of kind of cleaning the mind. It's not so much a meditation as just a way of kind of emptying the mind. And if you feel like doing it with me, that would be great. You don't have to do anything because I will guide it. Joshua can also do it, and because he could benefit from it too. And it's very simple. And what I like about this particular exercise is once you've learned how to do it, you can literally kind of carry it anywhere with you. You can carry it sort of in your handbag and carry it in your wallet. And hopefully all will become clear about that once you've actually done it. It doesn't take many minutes. And the idea is not so much to sort of chill us out as to kind of, as I say, empty the mind and actually rev us up for whatever may be happening to us in the day or into our evening, and to give us more energy. So without further ado, I'm going to do that. If you'd like to join us, ideally, if you're sitting in a chair or wherever you are, if you can stop for a few moments and simply now just follow my voice. And I would like everybody to close their eyes, and I will also do that partially. And I want to imagine that we're sitting beside a stream, a beautiful kind of babbling brook with water tumbling over some stones. We can see sticks floating down the water away from us, leaves flowing down. And the simple idea here is I want to start by saying to you, now, any thought that comes into your head, whether it be negative or positive, you just put on a leaf and you watch it float down the stream. So you don't judge the thought, you don't worry about the thought, you don't try and stop the thought, you just let the thought come through you, but you simply then just put it on a leaf and watch it float down the stream. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to have 2 or 3 minutes of silence, which everybody can do. And as I say, even if you find your mind very busy and thoughts keep tumbling in, don't fight that. Simply take each thought, put it on a leaf, and float it down the stream. So that's what we're going to do now. And I will wait for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I will bring us back. So we're not trying to stop the mind from thinking. We're just taking the thoughts and putting them on relief and watching them go away from us. No judgments. A negative thought, put it on the leaf and watch it go away. Positive thought, put it on the leaf and watch it go away. Worries, put them on a leaf and watch them float away down the stream. Really watch them. There they go into the distance. Not trying to stop our minds, just cleaning our minds. Reminding ourselves that so much of what we do is overthinking, is cluttering our minds. So we're just putting it on the leaf. Bye-bye thought. And okay, as we come back now, come back ready to face whatever tasks there might be for the rest of the day, knowing we have that control, coming back into the awareness of the moment. So what I think is useful about that particular exercise is that wherever you are, and that's why I mentioned putting it in it could be in a handbag or in a wallet, is literally wherever you are. If you have a stressful moment, you can develop that awareness and just do that visualization of putting the thought on a leaf. So you visualize it, you gain control over it, you take the thought out of your mind, and you watch it go away. You can do it several times a day. And I found other people and clients that it can be a really useful way to diminish anxiety, to reduce overthinking. If you're going into a meeting and you're anxious about that meeting, or if you're going in to see the doctor, a cardiologist, whoever, and you have anxiety and understandable fear about that, and just take a moment, close your eyes, and take that anticipatory thought and put it on a leaf. Okay, so
That's excellent. Let's say hi to some of our chat here. We've got Molly and Tom and Catherine and Michael Smith. Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Molly and Tom and Catherine. Missed one out there, Michael, I think.
Michael
Tom
Smith, yeah.
and Molly. Yes, Michael, hi. So, in order to sort of make this relevant, so it's not just about me offering kind of psychological advice, I think it's also important to talk about some of the things that happened to me. So, my dear friend arrhythmia is lurking around, is knocking on my door, is waving at me, hasn't really yet gone to the place where it has a complete field day over, my heart rhythm jumping around, but it's trying. So I thought I would share with you some of the ways that I try to get on top of that, apart from putting it on a leaf and floating it down the stream, which can certainly help. But my kind of coping mechanisms, because I personally find as well that it's something that I can feel quite afraid of because it can be so dominating. It's no fun, as some of you may know, when the heart starts skipping and you feel that rush, and then you can feel dizzy because you're skipping beats. So one of the things that I make myself do is I get on the mat on the floor and I do those basic exercises that I've talked about of the breathing, where I try to breathe as low as I can in my abdomen, in and out several times, and then I bring it up to my stomach. I do the same, and then up to my chest, and then my upper chest. Not breathing hard, just breathing in and out, but kind of just getting the rhythm of that going, getting oxygen into my system. To a certain extent, like I've just demonstrated with that exercise, although I wouldn't call that exercise really meditation, but I obviously try to sort of stay calm. But for me, when the arrhythmia is really having a go at me, I find the best kind of way is distraction, really. And that might be having a conversation with somebody, walking the dog quite briskly, reading, just because I find for me that it's when I start overthinking it that it kind of gets on top of me a little bit. The other thing I do is so that I sometimes find it can be related to maybe, it's worse when I've just eaten. So I try not to eat big portions when it's around. Can, eat little and often. I do take some paracetamol, or I think as you call it, Tylenol or Panadol. And I've been advised to do that. So it sort of kind of calms the chest down. And as I mentioned before, I always remember the surgeon saying to me, don't let the pain dominate you if you can, because pain can be so debilitating and tiring. And what I also find that I have to do in those kind of moments, whether I sort of a kind of wake up call, I'm not sure, but I try to do a kind of reset, a kind of complete reset on me, and just try and go back to basics of stripping everything out, just doing the simple things, managing what I can manage. If I have to do less work, if I have to do less tasks, so be it. Yes, but I just go back to trying to keeping it very simple, reminding myself that living is the most important thing, trying to strip away my worries, like with the exercise that I've just done, and just also, cliched though it may sound, trusting in my heart, trusting in my body, because the heart is such a base of feeling and expresses so much feeling. And I always notice that the arrhythmia comes when I'm perhaps getting too stressed, when there's too much going on. And I've got to like allow that its place, but try not to go into that place where I'm overthinking it and over worrying it, but just trust that my heart will sort it out. Yeah. And obviously at the same time, trying to get as much rest as I can.
When
So
when you're feeling the stress and come down, do you have physical manifestations of it? Is it clenched jaw? Do you feel knots in your back? Tightness?
definitely tightness in my chest feels like it's smaller and kind of tight and more like a cage. I tend to sometimes, more when I was younger, but would develop a bit of a nervous appetite. Um, what else?
So when you're stress eating, are you looking for crunchy, sweet, salty, or just any grazing thing will do?
No, I'm saying actually it's more the other way that I might struggle to
Oh,
feel
you
like
lose an
having a meal.
appetite. You lose an
Yeah, I
appetite.
tend to lose appetite. As I say, it used to occur much more when I was younger, um, and I don't worry so much about it now. Um, but yeah, I tend to not. My brain becomes more nervous.
Hmm. Catherine says
Uh,
she cannot tell when
what
she's
else?
in AFib.
Oh,
How do you tell when you're in AFib?
well, I don't have so much as atrial fibrillation, which tends to be more a speed, a rapid speeding up of the heart. I have more the arrhythmia, which is irregular heart rhythm. Well, I just can feel it. I mean, I call it my rabbit inside me. It's almost like, the thumping tail is almost like the valve is my early warning system. And I just feel the skip. And like I say, sometimes it because the heartbeat doesn't come through, something happens and I go whoosh up to my head, which seems to me that I'm not in that moment. I'm not getting the blood supply up that artery. I can also put my finger on my pulse, and if I use my phone to check my as a stopwatch, I can feel the pulse skipping, which isn't a pleasant feeling, but I can identify it. But I'm interested in Catherine because I had atrial fibrillation in hospital, and could I tell? I mean, my just could feel my heart zipping, and that was really really uncomfortable, and it tends to incite panic as well.
Yeah, I've asked her if she gets AFib often. This past weekend, during Rock from the Heart, they had a physician come on talking about wearable devices and how nice it is to have the information that those devices capture for things like AFib or um, so on and so
Arrhythmia.
forth,
Mm.
arrhythmia, blood pressure, and how having it instead of like not knowing between visits or kind of putting notes down, but just kind of having these readouts ready to go, being able to
Hmm.
see patterns for like, oh, well, what happens to you shortly after you have spaghetti, what have you, just
Yes. Yeah.
but having that amount of information coming in is apparently a sought after thing now. And he was up there. I don't want to use the word shill, but he was very much talking about how the Apple Watch is a great device for healthcare monitoring.
Yes.
Yeah.
I, I agree. Although personally, because it can give you so much information about your sleep and things like that, I know my I know the kind of person I am, and I think I might start to worry about that. A little. Am I getting enough REM? Am I, checking? And I do know people who use them, and they will share the data with me and all that kind of thing. And there is a downside to that. I think sometimes there's something I forgot to mention, which is kind of crucial. You say, where does it manifest in my body? Curious is because I saw last week for something else this osteopath I visit, and he often comments about how my diaphragm can get very tight, and
Hmm.
he feels that is a really crucial muscle in the body, which is actually very large, goes straight through below our heart in a cross section. And he actually commented, it was this time last week, well, your diaphragm seems very, relaxed this time. Well, my diaphragm must have been listening because it's decided, to somehow, for whatever reason, to get tense again. And then you also ask, about these symptoms. Well, I do notice as I'm sitting here that my back feels tighter and more uncomfortable than it would normally. But generally speaking, with me, it's, I don't know, it just seems to be a sign of kind of a little bit of mental overload. Just trying to perhaps cover too many bases, do too much. Certain kind of stresses maybe have occurred, which I haven't really maybe paid attention to, about maybe having to be a carer to someone recently, with all that's involved in that. Certain kind of family worries, and they can all mount up. Mm. So blood pressure going very low. That's interesting. And then the heart going a bit crazy. Yeah, as I tried to stress, I'm not a physician, I'm not a cardiologist, so I don't know the specifics of that. But I would imagine that with blood pressure going very low, the heart's getting kind of very confused. It's trying to maybe overcompensate in all kinds of ways. Does is Catherine medicated for that? And does she have any techniques that she can share with us? Hello, Catherine. Mhm. And how would she know it was a false positive? Okay. Hmm. This is Catherine, yes? Yeah. So is a teacher then? Okay. So any other engagement with that? Okay. Hmm.
I am muted. Damn it. Thank you, Molly.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, you can hear me. Sorry. So let's see here. Molly says the meditation was nice. That was a nice reset. Catherine says being a teacher. Molly let me know that I was muted. And Catherine
Okay.
says, I love the leaf idea. I do too. That's
And
interesting.
and something that can be done with kids in the classroom. Why not teach them those kind of techniques
Yeah.
to manage their own worries? Yes,
Yeah.
their homework or whatever.
Um, I hear this. I hear this theory that some people can't visualize.
Oh yes, there's a technical term for this, isn't there?
And Catherine's
which
got a class coming in. Have a great class, Catherine. Enjoy.
go for it. Yes, come on, do the leaf exercise
Yeah.
with them, Catherine.
I'm curious, when it comes to visualization exercises, if those people are at a loss, right? Because when you say
Mm.
visualize yourself sitting next to a stream, right? And immediately I have in, my mind's eye just a beautiful field, thick tree, branches hanging over, water,
Right, and I could have done more of that.
singing.
You
Yeah,
can dangle your feet in the
sure,
water running over your.
but again, the point is that I have
Mm.
the ability to like see these things in my mind's eye. I'm a reader, and I'm one of those people that can, watch a movie while I'm
Yeah.
reading, so the hallucination works. But for the people that don't, is this a frustrating exercise? Do they think that you're being weird when they say visualize, or like my eyes are closed, I don't see anything? Do you ever run into that?
Not personally, but it's a good point.
Hmm.
And yes, but do we really need to visualize for that kind of exercise, or can we know what a leaf is? Can we put the thought on the leaf? Can we put the leaf on the water without needing to visualize it?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly can, yes. I mean, I'm all for kind of you described a kind of constable like scene there with the branches dangling down into the water, and that's beautifully
I just
restful.
don't
Yeah,
want the sun all the way on me,
but of course, yeah. Um, but it can be very simple, can't it? And it's almost like the reason I say you can go and do it on the train or yeah, well, a little before going to see the doctor is it's so simple, I think. Or you can some people might prefer, a wave coming onto the beach.
Mm.
Put the thoughts on the wave. Another one I quite like is looking into a log fire, and every time you have a thought, you scrunch it up on a piece of paper and you chuck it on the fire
Mm. Mm.
and you watch it burn. You watch the thought burn. Now, I don't know how much one needs to visualize for that.
I'm curious about the effectiveness.
Mm.
I mean, imagine
Yeah.
being frustrated and having to go through a visualization exercise and your third eye is closed. You know what I mean?
Yes. May well look into that.
I'm just curious. Yeah, just curious.
Mm.
Whenever I saw that, I was floored because it explains why not everybody's a reader, I suppose.
Hmm.
Right? Like, if everybody
Yeah.
could visualize when they read, more people would read, I would think.
Well, and I think people have different extent of visualization capacity, don't they?
Well, I'm one of those people that gets in trouble with flights of fancy, right? So somebody starts, telling me a story, and they're just recalling something that happened with them over the weekend, and for whatever reason, I'm dreaming up a bar scene, music is playing, there's a crowd going, and I get caught up in the fantasy, and it was, it's just
Mm.
never the same. But I'll just sit there and kind of, float off in my own little
You're
world
away.
that
You're
way.
away with the fairies, Joshua.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe there's a filmmaker in you.
No, that's a lot of work. You know me, I don't do that much work, John.
But I'm sure we could all name, a filmmaker and what to remember about them. Their great capacity to kind of build a scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we could move on to a couple of other things that I was going to mention.
I'm ready. Let's roll.
So we in setting up today, we talked about this idea of me introducing perhaps a book, which people might like to read and get hold of and come back to in, say, a month's time. And the book I'm going to recommend today is called The Body Keeps the Score. I think I sent you a link to it, Joshua.
I'll grab one. Yeah.
But you were sleeping because your body was keeping the score because you've not been very well.
Because my computer was taking up its time.
So the book is called The Body Keeps the Score. And then there's a subtitle which is called Mind and Body in the Healing of Trauma. And the author is a gentleman called Bessel van der Kolk.
All right, I think I've got it. I'm going to put this link right into the chat for everyone. The Body Keeps the Score: Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma.
That's right. So the idea being that he would argue that my expression of arrhythmia is my body keeping the score. And aches and pains, particularly kind of spinal troubles, muscle aches, so on and so any number of conditions, it's all about the body expressing that, and that coming out of trauma so often. And having been through aortic dissections and aneurysms, we've had trauma. We have emotional trauma, and we've had physical trauma. Has that link gone into chat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other thing that we talked about yesterday, and I mentioned, was an interesting film that's coming out called, I've also sent you a link to this, maybe even the trailer, I think I sent you. Can you see it? Called Salt Path. Maybe you would call it an American, what would you say, Salt Path?
Yeah, that's what we would call it. Salt Path.
Okay, Salt Path.
I got it. I'll put that link in chat as well.
So, film starring Gillian Anderson, who many of you will have heard of, I guess, from The X-Files and numerous other films and series, who currently resides in London.
What is it?
Whoops.
And,
Go on.
pardon?
I clicked the link instead of copying the link.
Can you see the trailer? Are you able to?
I mean, I could, but we can't put it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We don't have, doesn't allow that, no?
We could, we might get in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll play it. We'll play it at the end. That way, if we do get in trouble and we have to clip it, we'll just clip the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a story of a couple. They have trauma. He's diagnosed with a condition called corticobasal degeneration, which is a kind of variant of Parkinson's, plus syndrome. It's a degenerative disease, which is gradually taking him over. At the same time, through a combination of bad luck and being very badly let down by a friend, their house is repossessed, and they lose, basically they lose everything. And with very little money in their pocket, they just decide to go walking on the coastal path of southwest England. For those of you who know, that's the kind of boot part of England. It's around Cornwall, Devon. And the film is a kind of journey back into nature and the way the landscape mirrors their own trauma, their own struggles, the way they learn about themselves. I'm saying all of this because I haven't actually seen the film. This is only based on what I've read about it and seeing the trailer, because it's not actually being released until April. So I don't know everything about it, obviously, but I think the concept is very much how the film supports their journey through trauma, through the kind of visual landscape of beautiful nature, how their walking changes their lives, how they kind of get in touch with people, when they don't have very much money, and yet the little bit they have, they offer to other people. And it's apparently a very transforming story. And I thought it might be good for people like us in this group to kind of watch that kind of thing and feel the kind of resonation of how we can kind of move through traumatic episodes in our life. And generally, I don't know about you, but anything with Gillian Anderson in tends to be top draw. Wonderful
Top
actress.
draw. I like that.
You heard it here first. The Aortic film review.
That's what we need. We need a film club.
Oh,
yes. And a book club.
So we did actually say we wouldn't go on forever.
Okay.
This evening if we didn't have engagement, which isn't a criticism of not having engagement, but we decided that we would see what happens, and whatever comes in comes in.
Right on. We don't have any anonymous questions, and that link is pinned to the top of the chat in case anybody has anything they wanted to get off their chest. In the meantime, in between time, do you have anything exciting between now and next week?
Do I have anything exciting? Did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Let me think. Well, one of my ways through these kind of difficult moments for me with arrhythmia and things is I try to get back to being creative. That's one of my resets. That seems to kind of like feed my soul. And what I like about it, so that for me would be kind of writing, actually maybe doing some photographic work. It's just very simple. I don't need any money to do it. And I find that when I'm looking through a camera or an idea is coming to me and I'm kind of writing it down, I feel very grounded by that. I feel I don't need much else.
What kind of camera do you use?
Well, I'm actually just trading in a Pentax. I'm going to probably trade up to one of the new Sony mirrorless cameras. That and I lashed out a bit and treated myself to Google 8, or was it 9 Pixel Pro.
How was the camera on that?
Excellent.
Yeah,
really
these
excellent.
phone
Actually,
cameras are crazy.
really for me, I did some research on these. I looked at the iPhone, I looked at the Samsung, both of them very good, but I just decided on stills, the Google Pixel Pro was just slightly superior.
Right on. Well, I hope you share some of that work with us. It's interesting what somebody who's trained in photography does with a camera. My cousin, her husband, he loves to take pictures. He's got this giant camera with big giant zoom lens, and so his son is in t-ball, baseball, or what have you, and he sent my cousin sends me these pictures, and I'm just like I thought that they were phone pictures, and then she sent me a picture of her husband. And he's like, you got one knee in the grass, and he's got a giant telescopic lens, and he's taking pictures, like high quality, beautiful pictures of his son at bat.
So he's got a massive zoom lens on there.
Yeah.
Telephoto, yeah? So he can get in close.
So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can spend some serious money on those lenses.
Yes, he does. But he takes great pictures, and they're down in Miami, so like sunset and sunrise and sunsets are beautiful off the water. He just gets crazy stuff.
I bet. Yeah. No, and I would encourage that in everybody. I mean, not for me to prescribe what people do with their spare time, but as I say, I think creativity for all of us, can be very, very therapeutic.
Yeah.
Whether that be, arranging flowers or drawing or whatever, whatever rocks your boat.
I agree. All right. Do you want to tell everybody to have a nice week and like and subscribe?
Have a lovely week, and we'd like you to like and subscribe and spread the word.
Molly says you should write a book. Hey, use the AI. Mm-hmm.
I prefer it to come from me.
All right.
Yes. No, certainly there's a book to be written about my outer body experience and all of that when I was experiencing my dissection and all of that, but that's for another day.
No, I feel like those stories would be great. There's maybe a dozen people that have expressed that
Yeah.
one way or another. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, then, people.
Molly says, with your photography. Write a book with your photography. Michael Smith says, thank you, John. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It's been great. And I hope that, as I say, the great thing about the leaf exercise, or if you want to do it with a log file or a piece of paper, is you just practice it. You just get used to it. You can build it into your day. It only takes, I think we spent 5 minutes on that, really. And I mean, I could have gone on, obviously. And if I was with somebody one-to-one or doing a group lecture in person, I could, but I'm just a little bit wary of just putting it out there on the net without knowing how it might be affecting people.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay.
All right, next week. We will see you next week, everyone.
Bye-bye from across the pond.